3, 2, 1 for me. So I can sync it later on.
Yes.
So basically, I've ordered a headphone splitter to go into the jack down here.
Right.
Because at the moment I've only got the one port,
Okay.
which makes it a bit weird. Trying to get the headphones in doesn't.
Yeah.
We had a problem with it when I was doing it with Josh and Shat the other day. It didn't quite like sync all properly.
Oh, okay.
Which is really annoying, but it's all good. Well, thank you for joining me on my new project, Mum. This is
complete pleasure.
it's a Harping on episode 3 will be this one, so I'll upload number 1 later on today.
Okay.
I just wanted to mix up a little bit because so far all I've had is just mates.
Fair enough.
So I want to get someone who actually is qualified in something as opposed to just people just talking shit.
Okay.
So if you just want to tell people a bit about yourself,
Okay.
what you do.
Yeah. So I am a nutritional therapist.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want me to talk over there, or do you?
Well, if you fancy, you want to come
Yeah, I'm a nutritional therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and I qualified in 2006, so 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I see clients on a one-to-one basis in the main, and deal with all sorts of conditions, from thyroid to digestion to weight loss to body composition changes to hormones, all sorts of things. I've also helped a few people with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Not my true area of specialism, but supporting people through treatment and things like that. So, and it is my passion, as I'm sure you know, because you've grown up with it.
Yeah, a bit of guinea pig worked quite well.
Guinea pig, and I think what's interesting is you guys, although probably when you were younger, thought, oh God, we've got this mum that's a bloody nutritionist and no fun because we can't have a snacks cupboard.
Yeah.
I think as adults, I've seen you starting to introduce and incorporate things I probably taught you years ago, which is lovely for me.
Yeah, it works. Well, I mean, yeah, it's funny thinking about like what I used to eat. I mean, like you look at me, like teenage years when I have like a pack of ginger beers a week.
Oh yes.
And God knows how many packets of biscuits and shit going through.
Yeah. And as you say, teenage years, my ability to control what you ate went out the window completely.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you've got to hope at some point that that health prevails and you kind of come back to something a bit more healthy than perhaps what you chose.
Yeah, and I mean especially now more than ever because partly I think it's a good time as anything so we talk about more health and stuff like that. Because we're in how many months are we in now? 3.5.
Yes,
something like that.
3.5 months into lockdown.
Yeah. So as things are getting more relaxed and things are going back through, what besides all the protective measures, what have you seen, or if any, in regards to nutrition and just general well-being from guidance and authority?
Well, it's interesting because I think they often lag behind a little bit from us as therapists because we probably see day-to-day things and they have to wait till they've got thousands of people to say, oh, that's a cause or whatever. But the biggest one for me right from the get-go was the vitamin D levels, because middle of winter or just coming out of winter, most people's vitamin D is too low. You've had no sun since October unless you're lucky enough to travel, and so most people, that's partly why we have a flu season in our winter, is that most people's vitamin D is probably below 25. In fact, I was talking to someone the other day, theirs was 9. Whereas mine's probably more like 100 because I keep mine high. And actually, just something to say on vitamin D, there is an upper level with vitamin D.
Okay.
So there is an upper toxic level. So between 200 and 300, most people don't hit anywhere near that level, but it exists. So, so it isn't one of those things where you can just keep taking tons and think it's a good idea. So, and I think vitamin D, again, your skin colouring does have an effect on how much vitamin D you can absorb. So me, I'm pale. I can go outside for 15 minutes and my skin starts to go pink. So I know I'm starting to burn. And it's the UVB rays, so B for burning, that actually causes you to synthesize vitamin D through the skin. So the darker your skin, you've either got to be out there for longer or it's going to take more effort. And so it's not a surprise that the BAME group, black and minority, is that right? Black and it's ethnic minorities, isn't it? BAEM maybe.
Right.
Anyway, people with darker skin, it's no surprise that perhaps one of the reasons why they've had more issues with complications with corona is that their vitamin D levels would be low.
Because you not getting enough of it.
Yeah,
right.
And also because of the time of year.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
you know, so
because there isn't enough sun out. Yeah,
there isn't enough. So the sun isn't at the right angle for us to get burnt in the winter. It's April to October you can get it. But actually, when you look at modern day life, you know, a lot of people are inside all day with their job. That maybe they don't take a break outside when it's lunchtime. They just carry on up at their desk or they're inside and they're in the canteen. And then people are going to work to and from either public transport or a car. And so day-to-day exposure to the sun during the week for some people is non-existent. So part of it is our lifestyle as well, isn't it? In the sunnier months where, you know, historically we would have been outside a lot in the summer months. A lot of people would have been working in fields and things like that. We didn't have, you know, sun protection in those days, so people would have got enough vitamin D.
So what are the sort of even though this aside, what are the best things for strengthening your immune system?
So there's lots of different things you can do. And if we think about the gut, as a nutritionist, we always start in the gut. So you've got something called GALT, which is gut-associated lymphoid tissue. Okay. And what that is, it's like your immune system that's wrapped around your digestive system. So most people, if they support their gut by dint of doing that, they'll actually support their immune system as well. And if you think about it, your digestive system is the one main entry into your body that anything else has got, and that's why this GALT is wrapped around it. Because that's where viruses, bacteria, parasites, all sorts of things will get in. Obviously, we know with COVID, it's also attacking the lungs, isn't it? But again, interestingly, some people had digestive issues with COVID and not lung issues. So what
was, you explained to me the other day, but I can't remember what it was. What was the reasoning that it attacks pretty much anything and everything?
So you've got these what they call ACE receptors in your body, and they are obviously in the lungs, which is why people are getting it there, because the virus will attach to those receptors. But you've got them in your mouth, your nose, your digestive system, all over. And so some people, it just seems like it's attached itself to a different part of the body, those receptors. Whether that's also partly how you've come into contact with the virus, you know, whether if you've inhaled it, it's gone into lungs,
or
versus
eating something that was contaminated, like the beginning thing,
or you've been very close contact with someone who's got it. Maybe you've kissed someone and therefore it's gone into your mouth. I don't know. I mean, that's something I guess we'll find out, and that's part of the reason why it's been so difficult to work on it. But other parts of immunity. So the other thing that I've always recommended over the last probably 10 years, I guess, is elderberry extract. So there was a scientist in Israel, I believe, who discovered that the elderberry protects cells from virus invasion. So if you've got a high level of elderberry in your system, what the virus has to do is it has to pierce one of your cells, steal your DNA, make 1,000 copies of itself, burst the cell, and then go off and find another 1,000 cells in your body and do the same.
Okay.
And that's how you get aches and pains and things, I think, with a virus as well.
Oh, because you can literally feel your cells being destroyed.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
So things like vitamin C and elderberry and zinc seem to protect the cells, because whereas a bacteria has its own DNA and therefore that's how it can mutate. A virus has to borrow ours.
Okay.
And that's why often it's difficult for a virus to jump from species to species, because it's a different DNA that it's using. So that's why the jump is always seen as significant.
And it's as a sort of a prescribed evolution of a virus, so that it needs to have enough contact with, say, you go from a plant to an animal to then a human. You need to have, it takes a long time normally, and you have that contact over it, so it figures out how to get through it.
Whereas bacteria, as I say, I mean, that's why we have bacteria that are resistant to antibiotics, because they mutated to defend themselves.
So what is the main difference between sort of bacteria and viruses?
Well, so bacteria are kind of an organism in their own right.
Right.
And again, talking about antibiotics will only kill
bacteria. So it's no use against this.
No. But some people might get a secondary bacterial infection, such as pneumonia, from the virus. So then they would need antibiotics, but not for the virus, but for the secondary.
Because that's what's hurting them.
Yes.
So
you can kind of get a knock on where you might get an infection, because obviously the virus will want to bring your immune system down.
Yeah.
So it can do its job,
and
so other things like bacteria may
get in there
get in
because of the lower immune system. Yeah.
Now the other thing, of course, just talking about that lowers your immune system is stress. So we know that when we're stressed, we produce a lot of cortisol from our adrenals, and when you do that, the stress mechanism, cortisol, suppresses your immune system. So if you think about it, we have things like cortisone creams, don't we, that suppress your immune system topically. It's the same sort of thing, but obviously what we don't really want in this case of a virus, we don't want our immune system suppressed. We actually want it active.
Fighting it off.
So it can fight it off at the early stage before it's actually got taken a hold. And that's why things like the elderberry that I talked about, that's all about prevention, because it's much better for your body to try and prevent something happening than then have to fight it.
Well, I think that's where we're getting. I mean, first of all, we're getting loads of confusion and contradiction with what we've been told to do, and I've seen no. I know it's happening. I know it's the same with other countries. I've seen no indication of how we should be improving. This is how you can prevent it. There's no talk about preventive that I've seen. It's just talk about how to respond to it.
I suppose their only prevention, and again, it's a sound one, is that washing of hands.
Oh yeah. I mean that's obvious
stuff,
sanitary stuff. I'm not talking about that. That's obvious.
The problem you've got is that in the medical world, everything's done by clinical trials, and so some things that we would perceive in the nutrition world as being common sense, if they don't see it as being absolutely watertight evidence based, they won't recommend it. And I get it. I do get it. But at the same time, I know in China they were experimenting with intravenous vitamin C, for example, which is meant to kill viruses. And so I think they chose 50 people and it was very successful. So I think because it is so serious, they also should be trialling some what they would perceive as alternatives. Rather than complementary, to help save lives.
I don't know whether it's just because I've had you growing up, or because most of my life has been based around sort of physical things, and so I've learned, what is the best food, to have, what supplements to do, what is good for the body, recovery, immune system. But it just seems like common sense to be like, okay, we need to have these vitamins, specifically C and D. D for obviously the UV rays you're getting from that, which then D and C, the two big ones for the immune resistance. It seems bizarre that maybe it's just I'm in a very fortunate position to see it. It seems very weird we're getting no instruction or anything about that.
At a very cynical level, I would say you can't make money out of vitamin D and vitamin C. You can out of the vaccine.
And you can
and the
make
antivirals that they've been trialling.
Not even that, because there's and also what's the number one cause for lowering your immune system? Sugar. There's so much money in sugar and anything vaguely sugary that say, stop eating that because it means you're healthy. They're going to lose so much money. And much money.
We've opened McDonald's and
KFCs
before gyms.
Yeah, I know. What did I tell you? And then obviously, no matter what the positive immune response you get from exercise, the endorphins you get from that, and the raised immune system, it just knows all about that.
I know, it's crazy. And of course, in lockdown, myself included, we've all put on a few pounds because, partly because of the stress.
Yes.
And therefore we start comfort eating.
Yeah.
And we probably go towards sugar because we're comfort eating. And yet we know that's probably the worst thing we could do. And I think it took us a while to kind of go through that, didn't it, as a family? We definitely, the first month, we had our come dine with me's and went a bit. I mean, they were great.
But those desserts, they nearly kill me outright.
There was desserts, alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't normally drink during the week, but certainly the first few weeks I was having a drink during the week, and I think the stress was huge. I mean, I remember being very anxious before lockdown, very, very anxious.
Well, I mean, considering, it's for a bit of clarity, people who don't know, obviously, are you happy talking about this?
Yes, of course.
Obviously, you had thyroid cancer, a recurring thyroid cancer.
Yeah.
So that makes, obviously, you a person at risk, but a high potentially for that. So that makes, I understand why you were anxious about that.
I think there was that, and I mean, I'm 4 years clear now, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But I think also because I had a bit more knowledge than maybe the majority of people, I also looked at people around me and thought, gosh, that person's at risk, that person's at risk, and they're people that you love, then that also is a huge anxiety.
Yeah.
And I think if we were struggling, goodness knows what other people were feeling. And I certainly know sleep is another thing we know is very important for the immune system.
Yep.
Everybody's sleep patterns changed. I feel like my sleep patterns actually come back to normal now, which is brilliant. And,
same.
And I tried all sorts of things to try and help me sleep. Lots of what I call nootropics, which are things that are meant to help you sleep.
A bit of CBD.
Yeah, they didn't really work for me. And so I think part of it's been psychological, but also simplistically, what is working now is lavender oil, which is such an ancient thing to use for sleep. So just literally on the pulse points here, kind of, it's a rollerball, so a bit over there.
Yeah. Well, like a deodorant roller.
Kind of thing, but it's tiny.
Yeah.
And that just gets me off to sleep. So sometimes it's the simple things that help. But I think we've all been through all of that. And I think the new challenge we've got, of course, is for the anxious people particularly, is getting them brave enough to go back out when it's safe to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a guy, when I got the train to work the other day, he had gloves, mask, and then a visor. And because I wasn't wearing the same as he was, and even from he was the other end of the platform, I could see him backing up. And I was like, you're like 100 meters away, like there's impossible to get anything. But as you say, is in all fairness, he could be extremely at risk. He's taking a big risk by going out, but I think he shouldn't be. But if you are at risk, but equally, he could just be very anxious. He could be absolutely fine. So.
And I think this is where, the furlough schemes have been brilliant. For those
we've been, especially in this country, we've been fortunate for that. Yeah.
That's probably taken some stress off some people, and I know it didn't cover everybody.
Definitely not.
And I was fortunate to be eligible for the grant scheme, so again, eternally grateful.
Yeah, you got through okay. Yeah.
So so there maybe are some people that are having to go back out to work because they, there's no money coming in, and yet they are vulnerable. I love how this kind of just meanders, doesn't it, in terms of conversation? Now we were talking about the immune system.
Well, this is what I was trying to say. When you spoke about before, like what we're going to talk about, I was like, just see what happens, because you end up talking loads of crap, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah. But let's just talk. So going back to the immune system, as I say, sleep would be something else that I think people should focus on. And the common stuff like not using your phone in bed. Or at the very least, switching it. You can switch it to the yellow light.
Yeah.
I've got friends who've got these weird true dark glasses that are like filters, so they go red. They're red lenses,
right?
So that you're not taking in any blue light near bedtime.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And in fact, they would probably wear them once it got dark. So they would wear them watching telly and everything. So that because the reason it's important is that it's the blue light that stops melatonin production. Yeah. So melatonin is our sleep hormone. So serotonin during the day.
It's the awakeness,
Interestingly made in the gut, then has to go up into the brain. So again, if you've got gut issues.
So what you eat will then affect the serotonin levels.
Yes. Yeah. So in my practice, if I see people that are constipated, they're probably more likely to have poor serotonin levels. So they probably come in with depression as well.
That's very interesting. Okay.
Or the other way around, they come in with depression. I'll like, what's your digestive system?
And then you need some more serotonin.
So they're just not making it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then obviously it's got to get up into the brain as well from the gut. And of course, going back to the sugar, insulin is a thing that sends it up into your brain. So comfort food literally is boosting your insulin to get the serotonin into your brain.
So that on the face of it, that sounds like a good thing.
On the face of it, but of course we overdo it.
Okay.
It's about the cause of the cause. So if you improve your serotonin levels, then and you have a little bit of carbohydrate, which will still put insulin enough to send it up, then it will go into your brain. But of course, most people, they're dealing with low levels of serotonin, so you probably have a higher amount of insulin to shove it up. I mean, the brain, the body's amazing in terms of making you do things involuntarily. So, for example, when you're pregnant, not you, but when one is pregnant, you need to increase your blood supply because you're going to have a bigger circulation system. Yeah. So your body will make you thirsty. It will make you crave salt because we know you'll absorb more water when you've got salt and water. And so a lot of women will crave salty food.
So more meat, more pasta, or else those
Crisps,
big bowls of carbs, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
You know, the wrong salty stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
But
You just need the salt in it. Yeah.
So the salt will then allow you to retain water, which allows you to make more blood.
So is that why you've been recommending? Well, we put a bit of salt in our water recently.
We do, because when I measured everyone in our house, we all got low blood pressure. So going back to your kidneys are filtering your blood the whole time. And that then makes urea, which then goes into your bladder and comes out as urine. So it's cleaning your blood the whole time. So if you're somebody with low blood pressure, what's happening is you've got low sodium and high potassium. And it's almost, remember the old days of osmosis at school? It's a great word, isn't it?
High to low.
Yeah, high to low.
Yeah.
So that sodium potassium will determine how much water you send out.
So which is the?
So if you're low sodium, high potassium, you'll send out lots of water.
Oh, okay. So it's not one or the other. It's high or low. It's whichever one you have more of.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why people with high blood pressure tend to have high sodium, low potassium, so they retain a lot of water, and that puts their blood pressure up.
And what happens if they have high potassium, low sodium, they have low blood pressure?
Or normal.
Okay.
But you know, some people that have got low blood pressure, that's part of the problem. They can get dizzy. You know, go from sitting to standing, they can get dizzy.
Yeah.
So those people actually need sometimes a bit of caffeine in the morning to get them going, or a bit of salt. But it's not for everybody, and I think that's the other thing I've learned over the years is that we are N equals 1. So what that means is we're all a sample size of 1.
Yeah, it's just us. Yeah.
So when I talk about anything, really, it might not work for somebody, and it might not be suitable. You know, so people over the years say, "Oh, ask a question." I'll always say it depends, because it literally does.
Yeah.
You know, you would never recommend a high salt diet to someone with high blood pressure.
I remember hearing this doctor saying once, that each body is so complicated and so individualistic that we can only really say like 3 things for certain about every single person. Yeah. Like, yeah, biologically speaking.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you were to go back to probably A-level biology more than O-level, and you look at the systems that you learn, I think a lot of that still stands in terms of the logic of, you know, how does a kidney work? How does your heart work? All those kind of things. But actually, how does your heart work? Yeah. You know,
and it'll be down to like millibeats per second and stuff like that.
And also, you know, how strong are your heart chambers versus mine?
Yeah, the size of the aorta.
Size of the kidney.
Yeah.
Etc. Yes, that will vary. But when I'm working with someone, I'm always looking for the cause of the cause. So that does mean kind of going back to human biology. You know, so if, let's say someone's got muscle cramps. So you're thinking about, okay, so what things make a muscle contract? So you're thinking sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium. So then you're kind of looking at their diet, what are they eating in terms of those food groups. What else is going on? So, for example, if someone's not sleeping, their digestion's poor, they've got leg cramps, they've got eye twitching, they've probably got a deficiency in magnesium.
Okay.
If they've got really low blood pressure, then you'd be looking more at sodium, potassium as being maybe something to look at. And of course, with all of these things, you know, we always get them medically checked as well. Yeah. Because, you know, as nutritional therapists, we're not allowed to diagnose anything.
So it's just more recommendations and stuff.
So you would, you know, if you felt there was something wrong with someone, and you kind of perceived it as a red flag. So, for example, a leg, going back to the cramping, that could be thrombosis. Yeah. That could be a blood clot. Yeah. So you want to send them to a doctor.
Make sure they're okay, yeah.
They can examine them. They can do some blood tests if they need to, make sure they're okay. And then if that's not an issue, they can come back and then we can look at magnesium and things like that. But you can't ignore
of course
stuff.
not.
And I think that's...
So, I'm going to get me to shut the door.
Okay. Yeah, keep it running.
Danger of having it in your house.
This is true. We need a garden studio.
We need a shed or something.
A garden studio.
Oh, garden studio. Well, that's well. We'll just we'll ask them if they'll let us.
I was looking at a house the other day. Had a lovely garden studio. Can't remember where it was. Anyway, yeah. So I think the importance for me is to be seen as complementary, not alternative. Yeah. And I think that's the danger that, and why some people have got probably a bad reputation in the area that I work in. Because they
they try and be doctors.
Well, they try and be doctors. They also try some things that I would say are a bit wacky. You know, I mean, I think CBD oil, for example, has got more credibility now. But when that first started, we were all a bit like, not sure.
Well, it's we've come a long way. Not as far as some places have. Like we're not Amsterdam or Portugal yet, but we have definitely come a long way in our attitudes on marijuana and that sort of stuff as well. I mean, me personally, I know I was very prejudiced towards it about 10 years ago, but that's not even that, about 5 years ago. Yeah. But that's just more from ignorance than anything else. But like we're getting people getting persecuted for enjoying the plant.
Yes, but I think something like multiple sclerosis, those people definitely. Maybe 10, 15 years ago were getting benefit from using marijuana, and at that time it wasn't being extracted into an oil, so they couldn't take out the elements that they didn't need.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I mean, same thing for that's really effective for PTSD, as is MDMA is really, really good for it as well.
Yes, and actually, fascinating. And for therapy, in fact, MDMA seems to work for sort of regression therapy and things like that to help people get through something.
Yeah, usually.
And again, it's got to be in the right hands, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's not something you do at home.
Everything in moderation. And especially with that sort of stuff, just controlled stuff is controlled circumstances and to have it for the right thing. But it's interesting. Yeah. But I mean that one again is a whole other thing.
Whole topic.
Well, let's have a go. I mean I know I was guilty of being just generally prejudiced against it, even though I've obviously done it, but to just be prejudiced against all of the whole thing, because I've only ever tried weed, but I haven't done anything else, and just without knowing everything else, I went, it's all bad stuff, and in retrospect probably gave people I knew who tried different things a hard time. But obviously now I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know.
But do you think part of it was also the danger? Because I kind of look at somewhere like Amsterdam and think, because of the controls they've got in place, I think some things would be safer for people to experiment with than here, in that you don't. If someone gives you a white powder, for example, you have no idea what's in it.
Oh yeah.
You have absolutely no idea whether it's corn flour.
Yeah, exactly. Could be flour. Exactly.
Could be flour.
I've no idea. Yeah.
It could be speed. You think it's cocaine? It's laced with speed. It
could be a Pulp Fiction. There's a fucking heroin. Who knows?
So this is the problem with it, and I think that's why personally, that's why I would get angry with people trying stuff, is that they actually they don't know.
I don't know if anger is the right thing. I think because it is illegal, because I was speaking to someone the other day, a friend of mine who was saying that who used to do it quite regularly. He was like, I can't do it anymore because it's because while it remains illegal, I'm contributing to the illegality of it. It's not the substance itself.
I've got you.
It's the unfortunate industry has become because of it.
Yes.
But again, it's a weird circle, because it's like the industry has only come up because of it, because it's been made illegal, and but then because it's made illegal, the industry come up. The industry is now occasionally quite bad.
Yeah, and I'd agree. And again, you go back to places like Amsterdam or Holland, I should say. Yeah. Or Netherlands even now, not even Holland. Changed their name.
Yeah.
What they're trying to do is to be able to control some of that industry, that
more illicit side of it.
Yeah. Because the people that end up in that industry, there is prostitution, but also people that end up selling drugs. They're all quite vulnerable people, aren't they? In the main.
If it's not regulated.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And as you say, I can see why your friend would say, I'm not going to contribute.
Yeah, I'm not doing it anymore.
To keeping people that are vulnerable in that position, because once they're in it, they probably can't get out.
Yeah, and I think it's like if you get more freedom in countries like, you get obviously more states of America are doing it. You've got Portugal, Sweden, Holland. If you're able to have like the more mind-expanding ones, like you get more psilocybin, DMT, all those sort of things, I can see why that really appeals to me. That's really interesting, because it's not a Class A drug, because it's just enhancing your experience, and it's opening your perception and awareness. I think it's very interesting. I don't really see the appeal of cocaine or heroin, just because that's not my nature. That doesn't interest me.
And I think, I mean, and again, I've known people go on kind of retreats and things. I think there's one in, is it Puerto Rico? Maybe.
Probably.
Yeah. where they've got various herbs that they use, but it's in a setting of therapy. Yeah, and so the people that are with you they probably take a tiny bit, so they're kind of on a similar level to you.
Yeah.
But they are there to look after you, protect you, and help you through whatever you're going through. Yeah, so I think it has a place, but I think we just have to be very careful with all this kind of stuff.
I agree. I think because we're slightly behind the trend, we've still got a way to go to get the legislation in and the regulation to make sure it is safe.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if we treat it like tobacco, there's no reason not to if people can make money out of it, and obviously the alcohol industry is worse for you than weed is.
Yeah, but again, going back to even those, it's like when people are trying to quit, for example, we don't really have enough support for people.
Yeah, especially with alcoholics.
Yeah, exactly.
They're happy to deal it out, but they don't want anything to do with the repercussions of it. Yeah,
exactly. So I think let's not add in anything else till we can deal with what we've already got.
I don't know. I think it'd be a different animal. I think it would be different.
Yeah, but I just think
it
is open to abuse, though.
Like everything is, yeah. I don't know. I think if we started off on CBD is a good step in the door.
Yes.
If you then do that,
but then that's had the other bit taken out, hasn't it? Is it THC?
Well, I mean, it's THC. I mean, it's still if you're taking enough of it, it's still psychoactive, and depending on the person, it would be, and depending on which CBD you get, because this is taking the chill aspect because of the high you get from weed. It's a chill kind of thing as opposed to a cocaine one where you just want to fight everyone, So I've met people like that, and you're like, what the hell is wrong with this person? And they're like, oh, they're on this. You're like, that makes a lot of sense. Okay.
And that's sad that people have to take that to do their job.
Yes. Yeah. It was just
some environments that's if you look at the city or something like that,
Yeah, or the industry I've been previously in. Yeah. Some of the people there, you're there like, okay, I kind of get it, but you're also there like, you don't need to. But I don't know. It's my thoughts continuously change on this, which I think it's a good thing, because it's just to continually change your thoughts as you go.
But it's interesting you were talking about exercise earlier and endorphins, and I think that's maybe underrated.
100%.
In terms of the endorphins, and in fact, they did some research, and the receptors in the brain that CBD or marijuana would dock onto are the same receptors from exercise.
Yep.
So so people could be, getting a double whammy of, yes, you're getting fitter and you're still getting your high.
Well, I mean, that's the main reason I exercise. I mean, you just feel so goddamn good because it's irrelevant of sort of like appearance or health. Number one for me is it just feels good, whether it's judo, jiu-jitsu, lifting weights, training with people, whatever. It just feels awesome. Like you just feel like you can do anything because it's not like and because alcohol things like a fuzz, so it's more like it's like a blurry,
and then a hangover.
Yeah, whereas like if you get the endorphin from exercise, it's ridiculous. You can just everything's firing on all cylinders. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I mean I'm not able to exercise as much as I'd like at the moment with my stupid
injury.
Yeah. But walking is still
something.
Great. And we're really lucky here with the lakes and the birds.
Yeah.
And just enjoying nature. I think that's one of the positives I'd say out of lockdown is the amount of people that are out walking. I went to a park at the weekend, which is normally empty, and there were so many people out. It wasn't even a nice day. So many people out, so many people with their chairs sitting in the park, having a bit of a picnic.
Yeah.
Because there's no restaurants at the moment. So
we've got a week to go.
We've got a week to go, but it's just lovely just to see people actually just out and enjoying themselves. And
walking itself is the ideal exercise for strengthening the immune system because sitting on your ass lowers it, and too much exercise like marathon lowers it as well. Whereas
absolutely,
which I don't think most people know. I think overtraining is a real thing.
It goes back to the cortisol partly.
Yes, it's too high.
Particularly cardio will suppress your immune system.
Excessive cardio,
where you're pumping out a load of cortisol. And then again, going back to that GALT thing I talked about, you've got something called L-glutamine, okay, and L-glutamine is needed in the gut, but also your muscles need it. So I kind of, my hypothesis is that when people over-exercise, the L-glutamine goes into the muscles to deal with exercise, and then you're short of it in the gut, and so therefore you're more likely to be vulnerable immune-wise.
Yeah.
So the L-glutamine, you can buy it as powder and add it to things, but also it's very abundant in cabbage water. And in all the brassicas actually. So it's you know.
What do you mean? What's brassica?
Sorry, a brassica. Great question. So if you think about the leaf, so another word for brassica is cruciferous.
Okay.
So cruciferous meaning a cross. So if you look at the leaves of those plants, they tend to have like a cross in them.
Okay.
So brassicas and cruciferous, same thing. So broccoli, cauliflower.
Oh, okay, cool.
Sprouts.
Yeah.
Kale, cabbage. All those ones.
Cool.
They have high levels of L-glutamine in them.
Okay.
So that's why you can get gas from them. Because they're feeding the good bacteria, and then the bacteria make gas.
Oh, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's just you just don't want to have too much of it.
Okay.
But yeah. So you know there are certain foods that are high in L-glutamine. So I say you can supplement with it, but actually if you sort your diet out, that also is important. I think the liver is also another area. You know, we were talking about immunity earlier. You know, the liver is so underrated in my view. We talk about people being lily-livered. I don't know if you've ever heard that expression.
It means cowardly, doesn't it?
Yeah, but actually, your liver is probably one of the. You know, you can't live without a liver. You can live without one kidney. You can have your gallbladder removed. You can have your thyroid removed. You can have all sorts of bits. But yeah, you have to have a liver transplant if your liver's going downhill.
Yeah.
And your liver does a lot of detoxification. So again, going back to immunity, you know, your liver needs to be able to help with that detoxification. So some of that will be toxins, but also, you know, you are detoxifying your blood. You know, your blood passes through your liver, and you know, gets a bit of a cleanup, which is why old red cells get put into the gallbladder and sent out. So the pigment in the stool is from your old red blood cells.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when people like me ask what colour your stools are, part of it is to understand
the red blood cell count.
Red blood cell, you know, is that being put out? So people who post virally, sometimes stools can be grey.
Does that mean retention then?
Well, I guess so. Or maybe there's more white blood cells going out rather than red, because you would have increased your white blood cell count to fight something.
Okay.
So yeah, so it can, you know, can make a difference.
Yeah.
So liver, again, going back to those cruciferous things, which made me think of it. You know, your liver needs a lot of sulfur from your food. So cruciferous vegetables, garlic, onions, leeks, and also eggs are all really good sources of sulfur, and it helps with what we call the sulfation path in the liver, which is a really important path for detoxification. Yeah. So again, when I'm looking at someone's diet, I'm looking to see, well, are they eating vegetables? You know, no wonder they're toxic. They're eating brown food all day long.
Okay, I'm going to have this conversation a couple of times with you. Jesus Christ, you know a lot. Remind me again how long your course was?
It was 4 years.
Bloody hell.
So first year, actually, I had to almost kind of redo A levels because my A levels were French, Spanish, and maths. So
not quite the lead
relevant,
up.
No.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing biology, chemistry, physiology, and anatomy in a year. And you guys were quite young, so it was pretty intense. I remember. And then we did 3 years of nutrition.
Whoa. So 7 years total for your training?
No. So 4 years in total. 1 year physiology,
I
anatomy,
see.
biology,
Okay.
chemistry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So like
less harrowing.
So like 2 years of A levels in a year.
Bloody hell.
I think what was positive was that what they did was they took out some of the bits that weren't pertinent to what we were going to be doing in future.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
So it was kind of a cut down A level, I suppose, would be but it was very
that makes sense,
in depth for the bits
you didn't need all of that going on.
Well, you see, you need the biochemistry, you know, to be able to understand stuff. So, and then obviously you need to understand the body. So the physiology and anatomy.
Yeah.
One of the most intense lecture. We would go in at 9 in the morning till 5 in the evening, and the guy we had doing physiology and anatomy dictated.
Oh no.
And I don't know if you remember, but in the days of overhead projectors, so you used to have the acetates, and you would print those, and then you would put them up on the screen. He didn't do that. He wrote on the glass with a pen that you could wipe off. And then,
so how did he write it backwards or something?
No. So I don't know. No, so he would draw things like bones on it.
Okay? Oh, okay,
right,
okay,
so
okay.
He would draw diagrams on it. So he would be talking, drawing a diagram, and then the minute he'd finished, he'd wipe it. So if you hadn't finished drawing your bone or whatever, you were stuck. And if someone asked a question, then he would have to go back and start dictating again. And of course, it would be in the wrong place. So you'd have like broken sentences. And anyway, so that's how we did physiology and anatomy. But my hand, 2 days in a row, Saturday, Sunday, once a month,
turned to a claw.
Yeah, you would just literally be writing.
Jeez, because I remember, overhead projector for me last one was probably primary school.
Right.
It's like when you're saying about the glass, do you remember having to? It was always someone who was dictating where it was showing where the words were.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
so you knew what was going. My God.
Yeah, but this wasn't even on a bit of paper. It was just literally wiped off.
Overhead projector. Jesus. Yeah, I haven't thought about that in a while.
Yeah, no. Well, they've all gone now, haven't they? Sad.
Yeah, smart boards.
So that was the first year, and then then we did 3 years of nutrition lectures. And I mean, the funniest thing I think for me was that every month you'd have a new subject. Okay, and by the end of the weekend, you'd be like, right, okay, yeah, I've definitely got that, and I've got that. That's probably me as well. And I think we turn in a whole load of hypochondriacs in the process.
I can't. Well, it's like reading whatever at MD.com or whatever it is online, where you're just there like
you start thinking
I've got everything going on.
But then once you've qualified, you have to do CPD, so continual professional development. And you have to do at least 30 hours a year. So,
yeah,
so
makes
in the
sense.
old days, that was lectures. You'd go along to talks and things like that. Obviously now we can do webinars and things, which I've done so many in lockdown. Been brilliant. But I think just having a thirst for knowledge and the subject, I'm just always picking stuff up.
I think with that, with doctors or anything like that, you're not gonna do it unless you're always wanting to find out more stuff, and you always want to be developing yourself, which is good because you obviously get the right people in the job there. But you're not gonna be just like, I'm trained, that'll do.
And like the thyroid, as you say, with the thyroid cancer, once I had my thyroid taken out, it was like, okay, right, I've got to be able to optimise my body without
this,
And so I had to learn a whole, I knew something of the thyroid, but not the level I do now.
So as you don't have it, what roles or what function was the thyroid doing? Or what does it do for people who still have it?
So your thyroid is about your metabolism. So it's almost like it kind of regulates the speed at which you burn calories.
Okay.
Very simplistically. It does more than that, but if we just take it very simplistically. So your thyroid makes a hormone called thyroxine, T4 we call it. So it's 1 part tyrosine, 4 parts iodine. So hence T4. But to get that into your cells, it has to become T3. So you need to lose an iodine molecule to become T3. So you need iodine in your system, but you need a whole load of other stuff, protein. You need cortisol not to be too high as well. And it's the T3 that ends up in your cell and then generates energy. Okay. So I'm on thyroxine as a medication, and then my body has to do that conversion. But the places your body converts it's not the thyroid itself. A lot of people think it must be the thyroid. It's actually your liver and your gut that do the majority of the conversion. So if people's liver and gut health isn't right, then they won't convert very well.
So it's in conjunction with other organs.
Yes. Yeah. And so you have these transporters that will carry the T4 to the liver and then onto the gut as well, and then you get the conversion. Now where stress comes in, which is really interesting, is that cortisol, if it's too high, will send T4 not down the T3 pathway but down the reverse T3 pathway.
So what does that do?
So reverse T3 says slow down, store fat.
So that's a specific reaction to stress.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the example I always give is if you were in a lot of danger, so an awful example, but if you were in a concentration camp, your life is in danger, there's no food, your body is not going to make lots of T3 and burn calories, it's going to switch you to reverse T3 because you're in a famine
Mm-hmm.
and you're in fear of your life.
Yep.
Yeah. So you will so
the concentration camp is the stress environment.
yes.
Yeah.
So it and lack of food.
Mm-hmm.
So or if you were in the middle of a famine, it would be the same thing. That would be a stress of the lack of food would be a stress, wouldn't it?
Oh, okay. So it's just got you. Yeah. So that's a physiological stress,
yes,
not just a mental thing.
Exactly. So your body says, right, okay, we need to slow down the amount of calories we're burning because we don't know when the next meal's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever food we do have, we want to store as fat so that we can call upon that at some point.
Yeah. Okay.
But of course, in the modern world, a lot of us are living under immense stress.
But it's not physical.
But our brain doesn't perceive it as anything
still
different.
Process it as the same thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it uses that mechanism to protect you.
Mm.
So maybe some of the reason why a lot of us put on weight in lockdown was the stress level affecting the thyroid, and therefore, and actually in the, when was it? I think late 60s, early 70s, guys in the gym used to take T3.
Oh, interesting.
To lose weight. Because it will fat burn.
Very interesting.
So it kind of
You shouldn't be
became,
telling me people
no,
this. People
no,
think it's a good idea.
No, well, you can't. I mean, you just can't get hold of it now.
Okay. Thank God for that.
No, it's illegal to do that now. But that's what
the sort of level they were going to. Yeah.
That's what they discovered.
Damn.
Yeah. So a lot of people that can't lose weight, it is worth getting their thyroid checked.
Yeah.
And as I say, 9 times out of 10, it's just ruling it out to say no, that's not the issue. But again, going back to how we measure it in the UK, it varies from country to country. We only measure something called TSH, so thyroid stimulating hormone. So that is the pituitary gland that's pumping out TSH. So I'm going to give you the analogy of a central heating system. Okay, it's the best. That's how I always explain it to people. So if you imagine your thermostat is your pituitary, your boiler is your thyroid, and the rest of your body are the radiators. Okay. So it's a feedback loop, isn't it, with the central heating system? The thermostat will switch the boiler on when it gets too cold, and it will switch it off when it gets the right temperature. So that's what the pituitary is meant to be doing. Signalling to the thyroid to stimulate it, to tell it to make thyroxine, and then your body should heat up. And then when you're hot enough, your pituitary should say to the thyroid, okay, stop making thyroxine. That's how it should work.
Okay.
However, going back to the analogy of the heating system, you could have a boiling hot radiator next to the thermostat in the hall, and the ones upstairs in the bedroom are freezing.
Okay.
So a lot of people
so different parts of the body.
Yeah. So a lot of people that have got low thyroid function have got cold hands and feet.
Oh.
So it's almost like they haven't quite got enough to reach the outer parts of your body.
Is that carpal tunnel or is that something else?
No, carpal tunnel is related, can be related to thyroid function, but it's more of a thing in here. But
so it's still relation to, is that still the cold hand symptoms
it
either
can
way?
be, yeah. So that's why some people, and also cold nose can be the other thing people have. A bit like a dog.
So if someone slips outside on a cold day, no, I've got it. It's a problem.
Yeah.
Cold nose.
But of course, the way that the medical profession have been taught to measure thyroid function is TSH. So all they're checking is your thermostat works correctly. And they've got so it's 0.25 or 0.27, I think it is, to 4.2 is the range. And as long as you're in that range, they say you're okay. But optimal would be below 2. If you go around 3.94, you could be feeling pretty ill. But no one's going to treat you until you're over 4.2.
That sucks.
And because they don't measure T4 and they don't measure T3.
So it's just the thermostat.
So they just check the thermostat,
they
don't check the boiler, and they don't check the radiators.
Oh, God.
So a lot of people that I see will do privately a full blood panel for their thyroid, because it might be that, yes, TSH is right, it might be T4 is right, but it could be their T3 is not converting. And their reverse T3 is high.
It's all very complicated.
It is very
isn't it?
complicated, but as I said, the analogy for me is
that makes sense. Yeah,
is the central heating system.
Yeah, because it's not just one thing. Yeah,
that's like paying for, British Gas or someone to service your central heating every year, and they walk in and go, yeah, thermostat works, I'm off now. And you go, yeah, but I've got a radiator in the bedroom that's
and the
cold.
boiler's making weird noises.
And the yeah.
And they go, nah, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That's
Or,
wow.
Or like me, you've removed my boiler.
Oh, okay.
So I've got to hope that the thyroid hormone they've given me
Is
will
enough
get
for
to
it?
all the
Yeah.
radiators. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So it's because it's a feedback mechanism. It's very different, you know. And you've got autoimmunity as well for some people. So you've got antibodies that have been created that are attacking the thyroid itself. So and that can be gluten for some people. It's at the root cause of that. And again, they don't really measure people's antibodies.
So they've got a lot to catch up on.
Well, it comes down to money. So a TSH test might cost £18. A TSH T4 test is probably £80 in the NHS. So so what happens is your blood test goes into the NHS. Let's say your doctor asks for T4 and T3. The laboratory sees TSH is normal, and so they don't do these secondary tests because they don't see any value.
Oh right, okay, because it's not alarm bells for TSH.
Exactly, and so they don't, because it's not going to change the outcome. It's not going to change what the doctor's going to do because all he can prescribe is thyroxine. If TSH is in range, he or she they've done their job.
Right.
So it doesn't help the people that don't fall into the right category, and that's where we kind of come in to try and help. You know. And there are a few doctors out there that understand it a bit more, but ultimately it goes back to they probably don't get much training on it. I mean, how many things does a GP get trained on?
I don't know.
Thousands.
Yeah.
You know, and how long do they get with someone? 7 minutes?
Yeah, something like that.
I see someone for an hour.
Yeah.
So I you know, I am sympathetic, I suppose would be the best word, to the NHS.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm
Hell
not
yeah.
critical. I am not critical, and I'm not critical of
No,
doctors.
they just need more money, need more help.
Yeah, and it's the way they're trained.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. I think you've always got to remember that. And you know, a GP, yes, they will dispense a certain amount of medication, but they are also triaging you for a specialist. You know, so they'll send you to the endocrinologist or whatever.
Well, I mean, I think that's one people forget the acronym. They're still called general practitioner for a region.
Yes.
Yeah. Because they're trained on a wide variety, but not a great depth on everything.
Yeah.
I was saying no disparagement towards doctors. It's just the reality of it.
Not at all. No, but the reality of it, and the way they're trained. So, you know that. And I'm, you know, and interestingly, I went on a course for functional medicine a few years ago, and what was lovely to see was a few doctors starting to go to that course.
Cool.
There was a lot of nutritional therapists, a lot of chiropractors, osteopaths, and then there were GPs as well. And the American functional medicine doctors that were coming over to train us, they would say, now for the purposes of the doctors in the room, we'll go through this physiology, anatomy, and you know, say how the adrenals work and cortisol. But we know that the nutritional therapists in the room are all very, very well familiar with this area because we deal with it all the time. So it's just partly, you know, training.
Well, that's been just about an hour, 53 minutes. That is.
Wow.
Time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it?
It does, and yeah, you have to be careful because once I start talking, you can't shut me up.
Well, that's why I wanted to get you on, because I know it's on the endless walks we've had for the last couple of months. It's just always like, Jesus Christ, that does that does this. I didn't know that, so I thought, you know, can't be only me benefiting from it. Well, it's not fair for it to be only me benefiting from it.
Well, thank you for asking me to do it. I've loved every minute of it.
Good.
Maybe we can pick another topic another time.
Yeah. Obviously, I think we'll give the 3 listeners a break, so you know.
Well, you know, I'll share it out for you as well.
Yeah.
Might get 4 or 5.
Well, I'll hope for the best.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Mum. That was awesome, and we will do this again.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for listening.